Today, we are going to learn how we can problem solve using line plots. Elma and Ben are filling water balloons. The line plot shows the weights of their water balloons. We would like to find out who filled more water balloons. We also want to find out how many more and how much heavier was Elma's heaviest water balloon than Ben's heaviest water balloon. So there are several questions in this problem. If we look over at our line plots, they are right here. We have Elma's and Ben's. So we can use the line plots to answer the questions. Let's look at part B. Who filled more water balloons? How many more? Well, each dot in the line plot represents one water balloon. If you count up all of Elma's balloons, all the dots, you will come up with 20. And if you count up all of Ben's, you will come up with 15. So in this problem, we need to subtract. 20 minus 15 equals 5. Therefore, Elma filled 5 more water balloons than Ben. Now let's answer the next question. We want to find out how much heavier was Elma's heaviest water balloon than Ben's heaviest water balloon. So if we look at the heaviest, look up at the line plots. I'm going to highlight for you. Elma's heaviest balloon is 2 2/8 pounds, and Ben's heaviest balloon is 2 1/8 pounds, because that's where the data is, not the last number on the number line. So the dot furthest to the right in each plot represents the heaviest water balloon. Alma's heaviest water balloon was 2 2/8 pounds. Ben's was 2 1/8 pounds. So then we just need to subtract, since it wants to know how much heavier. So 2 2/8 minus 2 1/8 is 1/8. Let's look down at the convince me. It says, how much heavier was Alma's heaviest water balloon than her lightest water balloon? We also want to know how much heavier was Ben's heaviest water balloon than his lightest water balloon. Solve and write equations. All right, I'm going to do Alma's first. So her heaviest balloon, we know, was 2 2/8. And her lightest, it looks like 1 1/8. So I'm going to do 2 2/8 minus 1 1/8. I can just subtract those. I would end up with 1 1/8. And I'm going to put pounds, because that is the label, LBS. Okay. Now let's look at Ben's heaviest. I'm going to highlight in red for you. So if its heaviest water balloon is 2 1/8, his lightest is 1 4/8. So we have 2, I'm going to write it up here, 2 1/8 minus 1 4/8. Now we can't subtract 1 from 4, so we need to borrow. So we need to cross off our 2 and make it 1 8/8 plus 1/8, which equals 1 9/8 minus 1 4/8. So his answer would be 5/8. So Ben's difference would be 5/8 pounds. So use the line plots to read what numbers you need to add or subtract based on the questions that it's asking. Let's take a look at another example. Rowan's class measured the snowfall for 5 days. The line plot shows the heights of snowfall they recorded. How many inches of snow were recorded? And what was the amount of snowfall that occurred the most? So what we had to do here was we had to actually add them up. So it wants to know how much snowfall was recorded in inches. So you're not just adding the dots, because the dots would say how many days that it snowed, because there were 5 days and there's 5 dots. But that's not what the question is asking. We want to find out the total number of inches of snowfall. So for 1/4, we have 1, so we have 1/4 here. For 2/4, we have 3, so we added 2/4 3 times. And then for 3/4, we have 1, so we added that once. When we add all that together, we get 10/4. And if we fix it, it would be 2 2/4 inches. So with these problems, you really need to read and figure out what the question is asking. All right, and think about it before you make an answer. All right, number one, how does a line plot make it easy to identify the value a data set that occurs most often? Well, it's easier because you can visually see it. You can visually see it. So if you can visually see it, it makes it easier. All right, go back to the other line plot on the previous page to answer these questions. We want to find out who filled more water balloons over 2 pounds and who filled more water balloons less than 1 4/8 pounds. To answer this question, I brought the line plot over from the other side. So who filled more water balloons over 2 pounds? So if we look at 2 pounds, we're not going to count 2 pounds, but who filled more over? So it looks like Alma filled 2 and Ben filled 4. So Ben filled more. So I'm going to write Ben here. And then who filled more water balloons less than 1 4/8? So we're not going to count 1 4/8. We want to know who filled more less. So I'm going to draw a line here and a line here. We're not going to count the 1 4/8. So if I count up the dots, I have 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over here. Sorry, I can't draw the 9. There's something wrong with the pen. I'm going to erase it and fix it for you. Okay, let's try this again. 9 here, there we go. And there's 0 here. So our answer would be Alma for this one. So just use the line plots to help you answer the questions. Sometimes you're going to need to add and subtract. Sometimes you're going to need to multiply. Just figure out what it's trying to ask you. You are going to do the rest of the problems on page 605. There's only 2 problems by reading that line plot. And then come see me.